welcome to the latest edition of Breaking Down the Madness. I'm Brandon McGair, once again joined by Daniel James, aka the Warrior Friar. We take a look back at the Friar action from this past week and look ahead to the regular season finale against Seton Hall. But we're recording this on Thursday afternoon. And Dan, first of all, we have a game to talk about from Wednesday night against Xavier, a high-scoring affair. Probably too many points allowed to Ed Cooley's liking, and it ended up a loss to Xavier and ultimately costing the Friars a chance at the number 2 seed in next week's Big East tournament.
Yeah, that was a tough game to sit through. That was a game I felt we lost in the first 5 minutes. We were not playing cohesively. We were not playing as a team. We were making every mistake imaginable. We were missing easy shots. We were allowing Xavier to essentially shred our defense. We just had no coherency. It seemed like we were lost on both ends of the basketball court, and it came back and bit us. And it's one of those games where you can tell bad things are going to happen. Bad things did happen. We tried to come back. We came up real short. You know, it's one of those games that after that 5 minutes, you're hoping you can lose respectfully. You don't want to get blown out on your own home court. And thankfully, we kept it, I think, in single digits for the loss, but there's no moral victories in March.
No moral victories. And, as we turn the page to March and, the Big East tournament and also the NCAA tournament, the Friars on defense, this is the second straight Wednesday that they've allowed 80-plus points to an opponent. It's shaping up to be the worst defensive metric team if you go by the KenPom system since 2014. Dan, just how concerning is this defense as we have one game left in the regular season and the Big East tournament next week?
Well, thankfully, we're avoiding the Wednesday play-in games in the Big East tournament because it seems that Wednesday is just not our day for defense. So fortunately, we'll be playing Saturday morning. We played pretty well last Saturday against Georgetown, or last Sunday against Georgetown. We already played Seton Hall once and beat them on their home court. I'm hoping that we redeem ourselves after last night's fiasco. Going into the Big East tournament, you can't play defense the way that you have against UConn and Xavier. We're going to be maybe the 3 seed, maybe the 4 seed. We're either going to be coming in ideally against Villanova or UConn. And both those teams are going to shred you if you play the way you did last night.
If this regular season ended today, the Friars would be the number 3 seed in next week's Big East tournament, would face either the winner of Villanova-Georgetown, most likely Villanova, or, if they lose on Saturday, could slide all the way down to the 4 seed and face UConn in the first round game. Sure, that would get the New York City buzzing, but I don't know if that's the easiest road possible to try to get a Big East championship. But we still have one more game to figure out before the seeding bracket becomes official. But another point I want to bring up to you, Dan, is Bryce Hopkins. This is the third straight game that he's kind of struggled. He's 11 field goals total over the last 3 games. Now, granted, he was in foul trouble against Georgetown on Sunday. He only played a season-low 18 minutes. But, is it a question of are the minutes that he logged earlier this year starting to catch up with him, or our defense is starting to figure him out? And how important is maybe his outside shot going to be because of his ability to stretch the defense?
I think his outside shot is really important, not just to help us stretch the defense a little bit, but also we need a reliable shooter outside. And Bryce Hopkins has been one of those guys that he can make big shots when you need him to. He's been reliable on that. Now, does that mean it's 100%? No, of course not. But he's someone that when he has the ball, I can breathe a little bit easier watching the offense go to work. That said, I think the main thing about Bryce Hopkins right now is that defenses know to look out for him. They're locking him down. They're double teaming him. They're making it as frustrating as possible. One of the common things I'm seeing throughout the fan base is that they're wondering, what does it take for Bryce Hopkins to actually get a foul call whenever he's on offense? And it's a valid question. He doesn't seem to be able to draw the contact whistle the way that other teams are able to and other players are able to. I think that adding that dimension to his game would really help him. But I think right now it's one of those things where teams know to look out for him. They know they need to lock him down. And they know they can be a little physical with him because he's not getting that whistle. So they're really challenging him and really pushing on him. And until either he overcomes that, he gets the whistle, or we get someone who can step up like Devin Carter or Jared Bynum to take the pressure off him when he's getting double teamed, we're going to struggle and he's going to struggle.
Just one last point about the defense that the Friars played on Wednesday night, or the lack thereof. Sule Boom and Colby Jones, a dynamic 1-2 punch for Xavier, combined to score 62 points. Ed Cooley called them the Magic and Bird, the way that everything was flowing through those two players during Wednesday's game. And we'll hear from Coach Cooley talk about his defense, or the lack thereof, and how maybe concerning it is as the Friars approach the month of March.
Our defense has some question marks that we got to get ready for Saturday. Very, very disappointed in our defensive just toughness, but also really you got to give Xavier a lot of credit. They made shots against our zone. I thought we had some breakdowns defensively. I thought our preparation was decent. We had a lot of breakdowns, and when you play in these high-level games like this here, you got to limit your mistakes. You really do, and I don't think we did that. They took advantage of every mistake we had. But you know what? We got to get back on it. We finished the season here.
That was Coach Cooley talking about the defensive issues that they had Wednesday night against Xavier. And Dan, I'm going to throw out two players to you, and who players I think could be key for the Friars down the stretch. Number one, Corey Floyd Jr. I thought he was a huge lift for the Friars late in the first half when they had that 18-5 run that cut into what was a 22-point lead for Xavier. A couple of threes, a couple of shots that I thought were going to scrape the ceiling of the Dunkin' of the Amica Mutual Pavilion. Oh, there we go. We called it the old building's name. But I thought he was key, and I thought he could have earned himself some more minutes there in the second half. Ed Cooley chose to go with his starting five for what Benny thought was a longer than usual stretch.
Yeah, I think Corey is he's going to be key. I think he's key to the long-term plan of this team. I certainly see a role for him coming off the bench this season and making an impact. I think consistency is the big question mark around Corey, but I have seen him play more consistently. I have seen valuable minutes come out of him in each game. I think going back to that three he hit against UConn the first time we played them to end the first half, that was kind of the staple for him. That was the moment that fans realize, all right, this guy is going to be someone we can go to. It's someone that will take some time to build up, but we can trust. And I think going into March, if he can really come full circle on that and really come into his own, he will be a valuable piece and help this team win games that they might be struggling to win.
Speaking of valuable minutes, good transition to Clifton Moore, who I thought was a huge lift off the bench for the Friars during Sunday's 20-point win at Georgetown. We mentioned earlier that Bryce Hopkins ran into foul trouble. It was kind of sink or swim time there for Clifton Moore, and he came through with a season-high minutes, 8 points off the bench, 3 blocks. As much as we talk about the workload that is Bryce Hopkins, and to a lesser extent Ed Croswell, if Clifton Moore could come in and be a game changer on both ends of the floor, I think that would be huge for the Friars in the event that they run into the same trouble that they did at Georgetown, where their star player picked up 3 early fouls and had to spend the rest of the first half on the bench.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Clifton has been a guy that he's been earning some minutes. We haven't seen a ton of them overall this season, but the minutes we have seen, he's really starting to figure it out. And he's one of those guys, he's in a great position right now in terms of his career. He doesn't need to come off the bench and have to score. He doesn't have to make an impact necessarily. We got a very strong front court right now. We got very talented players in the front court. So he's able to learn. He's able to process and grow in the game as the season has worn on. And now he's able to step into that role. He's able to get some points for you off the bench. He's able to disrupt the defense, which in my opinion is even more important. When you need to rest your guys because they're exhausted or they're in foul trouble, you need someone you can trust to get in there, maybe not necessarily score, but ensure that the other guys aren't scoring either. You want to have some preventative measures in there. And I think Clifton's going to be one of those guys that we can trust. And I do hope to see more of him. And I want to see more of that role from him throughout the rest of the season.
One more game left in the regular season, Saturday at Seton Hall. Then we turn our focus to Madison Square Garden and the Big East Tournament next week. And then we definitely have an NCAA tournament to look forward to. Breaking down the madness, we'll be back with a fresh episode next week. But for Daniel and myself, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.